Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh, and double honors unto my apostles, elders, teachers, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace, love, mercy, and salutations to you sincere brothers that are scattered, pushing the true gospel of our Lord Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, in all sincerity and in truth. All right, now I want to begin by reading this verse here in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 12. It says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful consolation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another people, and swords in their hand. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. All right, now the reason why I read that is because the video that I'm about to play, Lord Yahweh Bashemasha had the spirit, go searching for this. Okay, and this is actually a video that I saved, I believe 5 years ago, way back in 2020. Okay, and in this video it illustrates, how it will go down, and for the most part. Okay, a lot of people are experiencing this right now, but it's going to get to a point where the majority are going to experience it, man. Okay, and so I will play this video. There's 2 parts, so I most likely will do another video going into part 2 of this story. But this right here, okay, is going to show you the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, and so I will go ahead and begin with this video, part 1. I'll let you brothers and sisters hear it throughout, and then if the spirit will be willing, okay, we'll bring out some more precepts, Lord willing.
The following story is based on true events that have happened in the past, are happening right now all over the world, and will happen to you soon. While the story is terrifying, know that each of these disasters could have been prevented. This is how it will go down for most people, but it doesn't have to go down this way for you. In part 2, I will tell this story of what this family could have done to prevent all of these terrible things from happening. Let's say you are the perfect family living the American dream. Dad is an electrical engineer with a 6-figure salary. Mom is a nursing assistant, and they have 3 kids, 2 girls, 15 and 12, and a boy, 7. They have a cat named Fluffy and a dog named Betsy. They live in a nice home in a nice neighborhood, and the value of their home is well above the mortgage they have on it. They have health insurance and 2 pension funds they contribute to. They also own a BMW, a minivan, a motorcycle, and a small powerboat in the garage. Week 1. One day, Mom drives to the local mall to pick up some groceries. The first thing she notices is that a quarter of the stores in the mall have shut down. When she starts shopping at the grocery store, she is shocked to see the price of a loaf of bread has gone from $2 to $5. Milk went from $3 a quart to $7.50 a quart, and ground hamburger went from $3 a pound to $9. All in all, her weekly grocery bill has more than doubled from last week. At dinner that night, Mom tells Dad about the rising cost of food, but Dad has some worrying news too. The company he works for is planning to lay off 20% of the workforce. Not to worry, Dad has seniority, and he won't be one of the employees that will lose their job. They turn on the TV and the nightly news tells them that the stock market is booming, but due to trade tariffs, the cost of living may go up by 3%. The next day, Dad gets the utility bill, and his jaw drops when he sees the monthly electrical bill has gone from $300 a month to $1,200. On the way to work, he stops at the gas station to fill up and is again shocked to see the cost of a gallon of gas has gone from $5 per gallon to $15 per gallon. It costs $400 just to fill up the tank. That night, Dad does a budget and realizes that their monthly expenses now exceed their income. They need to tighten the belt, and so the first thing to go is the eldest daughter's music lessons, then middle daughter's dance lessons, and also junior's karate lessons. Dad cancels his membership at the tennis club, and Mom cancels her membership at the Pilates studio. Also, no eating lunch at the cafe, and no more coffees from Starbucks. To save on the electric and gas bills, they need to keep most of the lights turned off and the heat turned down. Everyone will need to wear a sweater in the house. Also, Mom and Dad will have to carpool to save on gas. Dad will drop Mom off at work and pick her up after he gets off work. The next day, Dad learns that the company plans to lay off another 30% of the workforce. Everyone at the office is tense and nervous. Dad still has seniority, but just to be on the safe side, he starts to send out his resume. What Dad doesn't know is that there are 50,000 other electrical engineers also sending out their resumes, and most would work for a lot less money than Dad is currently earning. Week 2. The next week, Mom goes to buy the groceries, but discovers that the mall is closed. She drives through town looking for a grocery store that's still in business, passing storefront after storefront that have been closed down, with plywood over the windows and for lease signs everywhere. She finally finds a store still open and goes inside. Half the shelves are empty, and bread now goes for $25 per loaf and milk at $50 a quart. Mom can barely afford a quarter pound of ground hamburger and a half a dozen packs of instant noodles. Mom also buys a couple of cans of cat food, figuring if she mixes it in with the noodles, no one will notice. At least it will be enough to feed the family for a few days. When she exits the store, she is confronted by dozens of women and children begging for food. Mom rushes past the beggars with her small supply of groceries and notices groups of men lurking in the parking lot. Mom ducks down between the cars and carefully makes her way back to her car, gets in and speeds away with men running down the road after her. That night, there is a banging on the front door. It's their neighbor Bob from 3 doors down. He's begging for food. He tells them he's been let off and his family hasn't eaten in 3 days. He's wild-eyed and desperate. Mom scoops a bowl full of noodles and cat food into a baggie and gives it to him. "That's all we can spare, I'm sorry," she says. Later that night, they hear a gunshot. Bob has committed suicide. Dad decides they need to sell the motorcycle, the boat, and the extra car. But everyone is selling, and no one has money to buy. He sells the $15,000 motorcycle for $200. The car fetches $250, and no one wants the boat. Not enough money to even buy a week's worth of food. The only thing that still has some value is gold and silver. They go through Mom's jewelry case to find anything with gold or silver in it. Mom hands Dad her engagement and wedding rings. Dad decides they also need to cash in their retirement plans. The jewelry and retirement funds should last them 2 months. Week 3. That Monday, Mom finds out she's been let go. The hospital where she worked can no longer afford to keep such a large staff on hand. Mom waits in the hospital cafeteria that no longer serves food all day for her husband to come and pick her up. The next day, Dad arrives at work to find his co-workers gathered outside the front doors that had been locked with a sign in the window that simply said, "Out of business." No one was even allowed in to clean out their desks. There will be no severance pay and no pension. That night, Dad calls all his friends, business associates, college alumni, and even high school friends he hadn't seen in 20 years, asking for help finding work. Dad never received even one response from the 300 resumes he'd sent out. But the story is always the same. Everyone is being laid off, and no one is hiring. But one person told Dad if he goes to the closed down mall and waits in the parking lot, there's a chance he'll be hired as a day laborer, doing construction or yard work. Dad left the house at 4 a.m. to walk the 6 miles to the mall, where he milled about with 80 other men until 10 at night. He did that every day for a week, but no one came around to offer any work, and Dad didn't go back. That night, there was the sound of breaking glass and yelling coming from down the street. The sky in the distance lit up from the fires started in some of the abandoned houses. There were no longer any emergency sirens. The police, ambulance, and fire departments were not responding to 911 calls. The next morning, Dad gets some tools and lumber from the garage and boards up all the ground floor windows. He goes in the attic and retrieves Great-Grandpa's 1911 Colt 45 that he had brought back from the war. There were 6 bullets in the box, and Dad loaded them in the magazine. Mail was no longer being delivered to homes, and Mom had to bicycle 5 miles to the post office once a week to pick up the mail. There was a letter from the following.
All right, so that was part 1. Okay, and you can clearly see, how, this family went from, living, a decent lifestyle. All right, they had a beautiful home. All right, 2 children. All right, some pets. Multiple vehicles, good, jobs, to where everyone's getting, fired from work because, these businesses are shutting down. All right, you heard about, the prices of not only gas but food, okay, have skyrocketed. All right, so this family is not able to no longer be able to pay for groceries. So then they went on to selling, okay, a lot of their possessions, which, something that would be sold for 15,000 went for 200. Can you imagine? Okay, a gallon of gas went up to 400. Okay, just milk and bread that used to be a couple of dollars, now you're looking at 40-50 bucks. Okay, so what? You can't pay your mortgage anymore. You can't pay for food. All right, your neighbors are coming over now. Okay, seeing that you brought groceries, you got homeless people. Okay, everywhere is just a, very dark scene. And these are the times that the apostles, the elders, okay, of Great Millstone, all right, these sincere brothers that are scattered throughout the 4 corners of the earth have been talking about Jacob's trouble. And guess what? These are all prophesied in the scriptures. But you have a lot of our people just ignore such thing. And it's going to get worse. Okay, when I play part 2, All right, which Lord willing, I'm gonna do a separate video for it, but it's gonna get worse. So this just goes to show you how gradually, okay, week by week, things have just gotten completely worse, man. Okay, it was a drastic difference. All right, and so let's get this precept, the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. Okay, what are the sown places? Places where you're able to go buy groceries. Okay, whatever you want. If you want to grab 4 or 5 different types of jugs of milk, you can. Okay, but what happened in the time of C19? Okay, you were limited to the amount of certain products that you could buy. Okay, you see, if you wanted to buy 4 different bags of or 4 different cartons of milk, or so like it, of eggs, you were only limited to 1 or 2. Okay, this happened here in Canada. You see why? Because they tried to be able to distribute, okay, a certain amount to everyone. And so you had some people that would just go in and pick up as much as they can. Why? Because they didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. You see? So the scriptures is saying what? And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. So these grocery stores only have food that will last up to about 3 days. Okay, that's if everyone is actually just grabbing how much they need. But when you got people grabbing more than they actually need because of famine, because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, I bet you in a couple of hours that store will be found empty. So the scripture says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. Okay? And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the habitation, and the heart of the inhabitant, and the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. Okay? And we're gonna get more. But you can clearly see, man, okay, how dark things are getting week by week. And this is exactly the type of message that we're telling Jake. But you're going to have a lot of people that may not believe it. But, as it says, how it will go down. All right. So I'm going to play part 2, or, I'm going to do another video to play part 2. And we'll get more precepts. Until next time, shalom, yahaba, shalom, shabrakata.